Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Just Two Brothers podcast, where we will be sharing our journey so far and some of the simple tactics we've learned that have helped us become great leaders.
Anger, an emotion we've all experienced in one form or another. Both of us have an unfortunately long history of short tempers and angry outbursts. But today we want to share how our behavior in the past has had a lasting impact on our lives, both professionally and personally, as well as how it has impacted those around us. We share some of the tricks we have learned to manage our anger as we have matured, and discuss what it took for us to see the error in our ways. We truly appreciate the support of those around us, as well as those of you that continue to listen and support our podcast. If you find any value in what we share with you today, please share it with others. That will only help us grow, which will allow us to keep having conversations like these, all in an effort to lead better. Enjoy the episode. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Just Two Brothers podcast. This week, we're talking about anger.
Yeah, this should be an interesting one.
I've gotten angry a couple times in the past. A couple times is a...
Couple would be an understatement.
Yeah.
I will say this is my biggest issue. If I could solve this one, I think I'd be good. But this is going to be the one that I fight to the death. Literally, this will be the fight I have until the day I die. I need to control my anger.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's hereditary. I know high blood pressure runs in our family, and that is something I've been wanting to look further into for myself. So I know I've had high blood pressure in the past, and I do wonder if that leads to easier outbursts. I believe it does. I think there's some link there. I'll have to do more research.
It's possible. Yeah.
And I know that runs in our family, so I don't know if there's any link there. But I do wonder if our anger is hereditary.
Anybody get angry in our family?
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, yeah, I would agree. Anger was probably one of my biggest flaws. Angry outbursts, bottling stuff up, and blowing up. That's something I struggled with in the past, and I've worked through. Done a lot of work fixing that, resolving that over the last couple of years.
Well, let's start there then. What are some of the ways you have began to manage your anger?
Biggest part, just like anything else, recognizing the problem. You have to recognize that it's a problem. If you don't think you get angry all that often, I mean, everybody's aware that they get frustrated, they get angry, they have outbursts, whatever, little ones, but you don't realize how much that actually impacts those around you and how they view you. Because if people view you as an angry person because you always have, even if it's constant little outbursts, that just kind of that reflects on your image, and it might be something that you're not aware of unless somebody brings to your attention, or you recognize it because it's caused problems or been brought to your attention somehow. You have to recognize that you have a problem with anger or getting angry. And then you have to start to, I guess, recognize when you start feeling those signs of anger.
There's a word. Do you know what the word I'm thinking of is? Mindful.
Yeah, be mindful of your emotions and how you're feeling. And when you recognize that you're getting angry or you're starting to get worked up about a situation, try to take a step back from the situation and figure out what it is that I hate using the word, but triggered that. Whatever your trigger of anger was, it could be something
As long
small
as you
like
don't use it in the context of I'm triggered, I don't mind the word.
yeah. But everybody has things that trigger certain emotions.
Right.
You have things that trigger you to cry or be happy or whatever, but we all have triggers for our anger. Whether somebody cuts you off my big one is traffic. I get angry in traffic really fucking easily. No turn signals are cutting me off. I'm real quick to
Pulling out in
anger with
front of
that.
you and there's nobody
Yeah.
behind you.
Yes. God.
Not getting over onto the shoulder when there's a turning lane on the shoulder.
Oh, it's so frustrating. I hate driving for that reason. But just becoming aware of that, knowing that nobody's trying to do it to be an asshole to you. Separate yourself and the emotions between, or the intent of what other people are trying to do from how you are reacting to the situation.
I heard on the driving note on the radio the other day, driving into work, they mentioned um, when they when somebody does something stupid and they're driving, they just say, "Oh, that person's having a bad day." I was like, "Oh, that's kind of a good way to quick think about it, to just brush off that little burst of anger you have for them doing whatever. Just quick think of what a bad day that person must be having in order to be in that big of a hurry to do whatever dumbass maneuver that just was. God, they must be having a bad day. That's got to be worse than mine." And feel better about your day.
Yeah, and seeing there's some situations where I can just look at what they did, like, oh yeah, I've done that before. Or, yep, I probably would have done the same thing. But there's other situations it's really hard. Why the hell did you you're
Right.
an idiot. Pay attention, you're going to get somebody killed. But just, yeah, realize what triggered that anger, what started to trigger those feelings, those emotions in you, and analyze what it was internally with you, that why it bothers you, or you just have too many other things going on, stress built up, that it's just something pushing you over the edge of you're going to have an outburst. Um, be willing to take a step away from a situation if you can, or just remind yourself to take a deep breath and breathe through the situation to calm yourself down. If I got to walk outside, if I'm in a situation where I feel like I'm getting angry or worked up about something, I'll take 2 minutes to step outside and just get a breath of fresh air.
That's one I've been trying to work on the last week or so, is taking a step literally back and walking away from the situation. And
You're not serving anybody
right.
by getting angry and raising your
Yeah.
voice and having an outburst.
Yeah, figuring out a quick way to get out of the situation so I can go take a second to step away, calm myself, collect my thoughts, and then go back with a clear head.
Even if you have to suggest that, like, hey, I need a couple minutes. I'm getting worked up a little bit. I think it's best that I step away for a couple minutes and I'll come back when I calm down. And nobody's willing to do that.
Right.
Not many people
Yeah,
are
that one's
willing
tough.
to.
That one's tough.
That's a hard one to do, but
That's
it takes
yeah, I don't know if I guess that would be ego
it
stepping
takes a strong person to be willing to say, "Look, I need to step away from this."
in. Right.
Because it's way too easy to get just in a screaming match or just trying to one up somebody that's you're in an argument with. It's easy to do. But those are some of the tools that I've used. Yeah, recognize that there's a problem, recognize that you do have an issue with anger, recognize what triggers your anger, and then, yeah, either breathe or talk yourself through it, or take a step back, take a walk away from it, and just cool yourself down. Come at it with a clear mind, with a different perspective, and pretty much at that point, you're just going back through what we covered in conflict resolution. Then it's understanding and
Right.
working through that. But most of the time, yeah, something triggered your anger and you just kind of calm yourself down. You are in control of your emotions.
So yes, you've mentioned mindfulness or being mindful of your emotions, your anger, and when that starts to be when you start to be triggered, do you have any ways that you try to cultivate that mindset? For instance, since the start of the year, I've started meditating. I have found that to be extremely helpful to not only show myself that I am in control, but also help remind me that I do need to take that breath and take that second to stop. Okay, I'm getting upset. So meditation has helped me become, first of all, realize that I am in control of my thoughts, because you kind of, in every day, the hustle and bustle of your life, you almost forget about that, and life just starts to pass you by. We've all heard that said. If you don't take a second to, here's another cliche,
Smell the
stop and smell the
roses.
roses, exactly, life just passes you by. And it's absolutely true. So meditation made me start to realize that, hey, I can stop for a second and take in my surroundings and enjoy the world for exactly what it is.
And that's helped you be more mindful of your emotions and the
And in turn, with that, yes, now I realized I'm in control of my brain, my thoughts. That has helped me realize, oh, I'm starting to have these emotions. I can control that. I can take my step back and deal with the situation. So meditation has helped me cultivate that mindset of mindfulness.
I I think for so long I denied having emotions that I just didn't want to see it until I went through divorce and everything, started reading books and then started, I guess, yeah, reading and learning about emotions and how to feel certain things and how to process certain emotions and everything like that, and kind of just became more aware of the fact that I have control over that instead of just accepting the idea of this is just the way that I am, which is how I that was my excuse, my explanation of why I was an angry person for so long, why I'd have outbursts all the time. It's just how I am. I don't know how to change it. It just is
Right,
what it is.
right.
Once I realized that, hey, dumbass, you're in charge, you can change it, you can make the decision, and you can be whoever you need to be, that's when I started taking a step back and, oh, hey, this is what I'm feeling. This is why you're feeling it. And yeah, I've just 3 years worth of working on
I
myself.
say,
And
jumping back to the first episode, for anybody listening who hasn't listened to that episode, make sure to go back and check it out. It's a pretty interesting, in depth look into our lives. But in that first episode, you talked about where you kind of started on this journey was kind of with that Jordan Peterson video. So was this around that same time then?
yeah, probably about that time. Yeah, I was listening to, yeah, YouTube clips or TED Talks and just conversations, and yeah, realizing people can relate to a lot of situations and things that you've been through, and kind of just realizing that everybody's in this shit show of a world and figuring it out, and that we're in charge of controlling our own situation, the bubble you're in. It's your it's your circus. You can do what you want with the world, with your life, with whatever you need to do. You get to make the changes. And yeah, yeah, I'd say it was about that time.
Okay. Another way I have tried to control myself has been through journaling. That's kind of served two purposes for me.
Control yourself or become more aware of your
Both,
emotions. Okay.
both, because it gives me a healthy outlet for the anger. I can write whatever the fuck I want on this piece of paper,
Yeah.
in my journal, whatever. I can burn it, throw it away. Nobody's ever going to see it. Those words are not going to hurt anybody. But if those words leave my mouth, they will do damage.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, it gives me an outlet, a healthy outlet for that anger. While at the same time, because I'll literally just sit down and give myself 5, 10 minutes, whatever, to just write. And I just put pen to paper and start writing. It doesn't matter what it is. It could just be gibberish. You try to write in the mornings. I haven't in a while, but I also used it to help calm my mind. I find it's very difficult to shut my brain off.
So when you're able to write out your thoughts and everything, it kind of puts a period at the end of your
Kind
day.
of. For a little while, I was having a problem where I almost woke up in a panic. And it took me a couple weeks to recognize that. And it was at that point that I started writing, because I woke up with just this agenda. There were a million things already going through my head that I needed to get done. I needed to look at, listen to, read, get done, taken care of, whatever it might be.
Welcome to ADHD.
At 6:30 in the morning. Like, I would pop out of bed before my alarm would go off with all of this crap. And so it took me a little while to recognize that and then get myself set on the habit of writing, because that's a tough habit to do if you're not used to it. But that helped. I'd get up in the morning, go down I'd actually meditate first, and then I'd go down and journal. And that, after about 3 weeks or a month, I no longer woke up in that panic anymore. Like I said, it's been a little while since I've journaled. I kind of haven't made the time for it, and kind of felt I haven't needed it, but I also know that's probably not the absolute truth. It's probably a tool I should be utilizing more often, but yeah. So I do journal, and like I said, that has helped me become more aware and given me an outlet. So that's another tip or technique.
How have you seen anger used by you or others in the workplace or at home affect
Before
those
we
around
get
you?
to that, can we put a pin in these? Because I got one more.
Yeah.
One more technique or tip for dealing with anger. So hold on to that question, and we'll come back to it. One more thing that I kind of forget about, and I kind of forget about it, and then part of the time I also just do it instinctually now. But I had taken a leadership course a few years back through one of my employers, and it was on, I think, anger and conflict and stuff like that in the workplace. And the speaker had given a technique to use when you do get angry or you start to get excited with your arms. So it's, you take your arms and you just cross them behind your back like this. And what that does, in her words, it opens up your heart.
It's not a defensive posture either.
Right. And it's not an attacking. It's not an attacking posture.
Mm-hmm.
But she said, yeah, that this motion, it relaxes you and it opens up your heart. So it makes your body more receptive to love, and it calms you down. And I've used it quite often.
I've seen a lot of people in the Marine Corps stand with their arms behind their back, and it's usually not a good thing.
But that's another technique you can use to help calm yourself down in a situation. If you're standing there, just cross your arms behind your back. Nobody will even notice, but it can help. It works for me.
Nobody will notice, but people will notice, because everybody senses body language, whether you understand how to read it or not. It changes the feel, the vibe of
Right,
the
right.
conversation.
But it's just a little motion you can do. Won't be picked up by many, but
It's
it'll
interesting.
help settle you down. It works for me, so try it. See if it'll work for you.
It's very interesting. I'll have to give that a shot.
Now back to your question.
You got anything else?
No, that was all I had.
Have how did I word that? How have you seen your outbursts of anger or the outbursts of others in the workplace or at home affect your opinion towards leaders or those that you were leading, their opinion towards you?
Oh man, there's a lot of questions in there. So, my angry outbursts is separate from what I've witnessed and how I interpret them. So, where do I start with my angry outbursts? God, there's way too many of them to even count.
Just pick a good that you
They've
have examples of how it affected somebody else.
in general, it's obviously a negative effect. It there are few and far time or very few times where you may need to use anger.
Right.
Unfortunately, some situations do dictate that anger needs to happen in order to get a point across or to get somebody to get something done finally, whatever it might be.
Fear is a good motivator.
If absolutely necessary, but it should be a last resort.
Yeah.
Most times it can be handled better, more efficiently with words rather than anger. So most of the time, my anger causes me pain and suffering. I have to apologize. I have to go mend a situation, mend a relationship, whatever it might be, and start back over. And then the anger really gets you nowhere because you didn't get your point across. You just look like an ass and yelled.
Have other people given you feedback on how your blow ups or how you handle the situation affected the way that they looked at you?
Yeah. And I know that my anger has affected me getting certain positions in the past. I know for a fact I was never offered and I was never going to be offered a production manager position at my last place because of my anger. Part of the reason I was done working there. My issue is I give opportunities before my anger comes out.
Yes.
So that is the one difference in my anger and other anger that I have observed. Other people can be justified as well, and other people can be given a long leash before they're blown up on as well.
Right.
But a lot of times that's not the case. People just butt heads and get pissed. It does build up quite a bit too, but I tend to get angry when situations aren't being resolved, and I have given repeated feedback on how things should be done or just the simple fact that something needs to change. I don't necessarily care how it's done or what's done,
but it's not working.
Something needs to change. And when it's not listened to or I'm treated as if I were stupid, in not so many words, if they just don't treat me like I have any value, that's when I get frustrated. Don't just blow me off. Don't just brush me off. Right. I have value.
Right.
Treat me like a person If you don't agree with it, that's fine, but explain to me until I understand. Yes, that may be difficult, but guess what? That's your job as a leader,
Yep.
to make me understand. And guess what? If you can do that, I will give you my life.
Yeah.
I can be very intense. So I know I can be a handful. But I also have my expectations. I have my expectations of my leaders.
Yeah.
Or I have expectations of people in general. And when certain expectations aren't met and I have given opportunities, that's when I get pissed. And rather than blowing up, I need to learn how to handle those situations rather than just yelling and screaming. There are times where that, unfortunately, nothing would have gotten done unless I had the outburst. And unfortunately, I was the one to fall on that sword. And unfortunately, I am typically the one to fall on that sword because, like I said, I am just an intense person.
When you believe in something, you're going to die on that hill.
Every single time,
Yep.
until you can make me understand why I shouldn't.
Yeah.
My brain is just very logical, I guess, in that way. And so once I have an idea in my head, typically I've exhausted every reason why that shouldn't be true. And that's why I believe that. So it is your job.
Explain to me why I'm wrong.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know whether that's the right way or the wrong way to look
Instead of
at
just
it.
telling me that I'm wrong, explain to me why I'm wrong.
Right. Until I understand it. And yes, I do have high expectations for that.
Yeah.
I need to understand it. But again, you will get every bit of return on that investment.
Yeah.
You put that time into me, I promise you, I will go to war for you. But when you don't, I get pissed.
Yeah.
Because I will do that for my team. I will exhaust everything I can for my team, so I expect the same from you.
Mm-hmm.
But I just need to learn how to handle those situations to where I've given opportunities and opportunities. Instead of snapping and yelling, I need to reel it in and figure out the proper way to handle that.
Yeah.
So I've reduced it from instantaneously to, okay, now you have a longer leash. Now I need to eliminate the blow up and continue to find ways to do that and spend the rest of my life working to suppress that
Mediate
flaw.
your emotions a little bit.
But yeah, so the trouble it's gotten me into is, yes, I've had to apologize, like I said, mend relationships, and sometimes start over with those people because they aren't going to look at you the same anymore. They have no respect for you anymore. You're just an angry asshole. And it's hard to come back from that.
Yeah. Very hard. I've done the same thing. Same reasons. Exact same, not same circumstances, but yeah. Given an opportunity, gave an offer to change it. This is what my issue is. Let's fix it. Doesn't get fixed. Bring it up again. Doesn't get fixed. There was one time I might have told this story already. I had made comments trying to get a guy to stop doing the same thing, taking parts back when he didn't know what he was taking. End up spending extra hours searching for parts that were missing because they got taken out of the department that they belonged in because somebody didn't know what the hell they were taking. So they just grabbed everything expecting to need all of it without even taking any time or consideration to say, what do I actually need? Had the conversation, explained why it was an issue, that it took more time, was inefficient, didn't change. Had the conversation again, didn't change. Brought it up to other people, nothing happened. Finally, I had enough. It It was the year that I was going through my divorce, so I was stressed enough. I had enough stuff going on, and I just had enough between stuff going on at home, stuff going on at work, and that same problem coming up. I blew up on this dude. I walked back to the back of the shop. I grabbed everything I need. I called him every name in the book. He sat there screaming at me. I told him exactly what I thought about him, exactly how lazy and worthless I thought he was, and how terrible of an employee I thought he was. I walked away from that situation feeling much better for about 5 minutes until everybody in the shop had made a comment to me. Damn, you're scary. I don't even want to talk to you anymore. I don't even know if I can talk to you anymore. Like, what the hell was that about? I made every single person heard that entire situation, and it didn't. The problem got resolved. Never happened again. But yeah, it took a blow up, and every single person around me, I had to explain, like, here's the situation. I'm sorry I did that. Yeah, I had to apologize to everybody in the shop. I was asked to apologize to the employee that I blew up on. I don't think I ever did that because in my mind, I was justified. I said things that I shouldn't have said, but you push me to a limit. Yeah, I used to blow up bad. And yeah, that was probably the last big one that I can remember before it was brought up to me that it was an issue. And that if it happened again, I probably wouldn't have a job again.
See, I've never had anything like that. I yell, but I don't call names and stuff like that.
I mean, it didn't jump right to it. It was
Yeah, no, and
childish bullshit. It was, yeah, emotions got the best of both of us. We both blew up. We both got angry, and yeah, names started getting called. And once that happens, gloves are off. And I am ruthless when I say things to people
yeah, I'm
because I
just
don't care. There's no filter, and I'm very good with what I can say to you.
Yes,
because
I can be
know where
very
to hurt.
condescending and yeah, it's subordinate. I guess is the correct word to use for my situation is very subordinate and certain situations I need to keep my mouth shut and that's when I've gotten myself into trouble. There are other times where I felt justified. I've got so many so many fucking stories
Oh
about
yeah, I get
anger and how I've been talked to for this, that, or the other thing. And I actually have, there's a whole high-low driver that I worked with. He actually has a podcast, and we're going to be hopefully setting up a chat with him. So it'll be interesting to see the conversation that we can have about that. And we always came back and had a good understanding with each other. But we were both very proud. We were both very stubborn. We wanted to do things our way. And we'd yell at each other, flat out yell at each other. People would come up and, everything okay? Yeah, we're fine. It'll be okay. And we had an understanding with each other. We'd still get pissed at each other.
yeah.
And we wouldn't talk for a minute, but in the end, everything would be okay. But people would still see that and be like, oh, what's going on there? Other times, I had one high-low driver. This is one I felt justified about. I ended up getting, this is, I believe, my only kind of write-up that I, quote unquote, write-up that I've gotten. And it was because I had so many outbursts that they had to do something. They had to get it on paper. But they had moved a rack in our shop that held these big 15,000, 20,000 pound dies. And giant high-low has to pick that up and put it on the rack and go put it back in the press and swap them out. The rack was right across the aisle from where we have our racks to store our parts in coming off the line. And those are just sitting on the ground. They're open racks, so the team could walk in there and set these bumpers in these racks, and it would hold a dozen of them. They were pretty big, elaborate assemblies.
Yeah.
So anyways, they're open. You had to walk in there to set the part down. They put that rack there. I knew this big-ass high-low was going to have to go in there. I made a comment when they started moving it, because what are you guys doing? Why are you putting that? What's going on here? Well, we're moving this. That's not a good idea. Somebody's going to end up getting hurt. There's not much room up here. Like, we can work on something, but this way is not going to work. Like, especially this stuff can't go here because our stuff is right here. People are in and out of this. If that gets hit, somebody can get hurt. I already knew it was coming. So they go and put their racks there. The very next day, I don't know if they were running their tests, trials, whatever. Guy gets on the high-low, goes up there to pick up a die. As he's turning, bumps in. I had my team stop the line because I said, we're going to watch this. I told them what was going to happen. I asked them not to do this. They did it anyways, and this is a safety hazard. I said, so you guys need to stop and get back. We're going to watch what happens. So we stop. We're standing back. I stood right up next to the rack because fuck it. You guys are going to hit somebody. You're going to hit me. Then we're going to have problems because that could have been anybody inside of one of those racks. I'm at the end of it, waiting for it. Sure enough, goes to pick up the die, turns in, back end of his high-low, hits the end of the racks, and bumps it. What the fuck are you doing? I was like, at that point, I'm pissed. This is a safety issue.
Right.
At this point.
Hurt somebody
exactly.
in your team.
Those bumpers weigh 40 pounds, I think. And it's hot. Like, it just came off a welder with 130 welds on it. It's fucking hot. Carrying that in there and have to set it down on this rack. Sometimes you got to lower arms, whatever. What the fuck are you doing? You need to get off that fucking high-low right now. Get your boss over here. I want him. And he told me no. Oh. So it escalated from there. And I finally stormed off. I had to go get my boss. Yep. Yelled at him, but this is why. Anyways, I ended up getting in trouble for that one. It pissed me off. Part of the reason I'm not there any longer. But yeah, so that's one of the ways it's gotten me in trouble. I had another time where our operations manager, I had vacation scheduled. I hunt. The fall is for hunting. October, November, December, that's my time. I figured out how to shift all of my weekends around, trade all of my weekends. So I worked, because we had mandatory weekends for all supervisors. There were 6 supervisors per shift, so we all rotated. I had swapped my weekends in the fall for weekends in the spring and the winter, because I don't give a shit about being outside in the winter. I'll work all weekend. I don't care. I'd rather work and make a bunch of money in the winter than during the summer and the fall. Well, apparently somebody had complained that I didn't work weekends for like 2 months because I had swapped all of them. And so they took it upon themselves to just redo the schedule. And they handed it back out. I was leaving for vacation to go hunting for a week. Guess what weekend ended up being mine? The weekend I was supposed to be gone on vacation. So they had pulled all the supervisors together in the lunchroom, had us all sit down to hand this thing out. They handed it out. I'd already known what was going to happen. I think I had made a comment about, you watch, I'm going to get fucked. Sure enough, got the schedule handed to me. I got fucked. I stood up and I threw that paper. I went, this is a fucking joke. Yeah, that didn't go over too well.
No, you handled that one wrong.
So I got yelled at for a minute. I yelled for a minute. finally agreed that it's best for me to sit down. Meeting finished, I got pulled in and talked to. That was one of those situations where it ended up being a good conversation after the fact. I learned better how to coach up, I guess. Does that make sense to you?
I think so, but why don't you elaborate?
What I mean by coaching up is just because your leader is your leader does not mean they have all the answers either, or have experienced everything, or know it all. And they need advice and help as well. You may know something that they don't, or you may have insight into something that they don't, or another way to think about something or look at something that they're not.
Yeah.
So I took from that how to better communicate in that type of a situation, in a situation where I have to coach up.
Okay.
How to better explain myself or get my point across so they can understand. So it ended up being a good conversation, and I learned that, yeah, you're right, I did not handle that properly, but you guys need to understand where I'm coming from, and that you guys don't take us into consideration at all. We're all right here. You can send us emails all day long, but you guys don't communicate with us for shit. You didn't take 2 seconds to look at the vacation schedule. Like, you got to think about us too. And yeah, you're right. Now that led into a conversation of, do you guys realize you have like 150 years of experience in that room right now? Between all of us supervisors in there, we have hundreds of years of experience leading people. Don't you think we might have some insight into how to handle some of these situations?
Yeah.
Have you ever thought to ask us our opinion on anything? We have valuable insight. Use us. That's what you pay us for.
Right.
And that brought on that conversation. So that's one of those times where I said, while unfortunately I had to fall on the sword, somebody had to. And that was one of those times, because it got them to open their eyes, even if it was just a little bit. Maybe it only lasted a little while. Did get them to see that, hey, we do have some intelligent people that work for us. We should be using them better than we are.
Yeah, absolutely. It's why you have people in those roles, to use the experience that they have, to have people lead people using that experience. Use it in other places. People have, all sorts of background that you probably don't know about.
Yeah. As far as leaders that I've seen that have blown up, I can't say. I've got one situation, but that one is for another day. I don't even want to start it, because then I'm going to have to go with it. But I had one senior manager get pretty angry at me. He got himself into trouble, and I was actually able to keep myself calm and handle the situation well. I actually got out of it without getting myself into any trouble.
Which is surprising.
Tends to be the case, though. And
because somebody else is walking into it.
Kind of.
They're talking themselves
Not only had I been setting them up for a while, playing the long game.
But
at that point in time, I kind of almost was like, haha, I won.
Yep.
But in any situation like that, where there's one extreme emotion, as long as I'm not already pissed about something, I can control myself to diffuse the situation.
Laugh it off.
Whenever there's an extreme opposite emotion, I can remain the opposite. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Whether it's somebody's breaking down, crying, or extremely angry, whatever it might be, I can help remain calm to diffuse the situation, whatever it might be.
Instead of matching their emotions.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, that I think that played into it. And like I said, I also had kind of been playing the long game on that one, and at that moment in time knew I won and just needed to get the hell out of the way. But
Yeah, that's fair. I've seen shit, I came up in machine shops.
yeah, I can about
And machine
imagine.
shops are fucking brutal places.
Oh,
At least when
been
I
on
got into
construction
it.
sites. I forgot about construction sites.
Yeah. There was machine shop I started in outside of just out of high school. The foreman used to get so pissed off. I've seen parts thrown. I've heard stories of parts being thrown through windows, parts thrown through sheet metal walls just because somebody fucked up a part and now you got a big block of steel that you can't do shit with. And yeah, there's
Well,
tons
there's
of anger,
hours into that stuff too sometimes. So
hours, hundreds of dollars worth of tooling if you broke tools and stuff like that. If you break a tap off inside of a tool, now you got to spend hours trying to get that tap out or you scrap the part. It's all a time and cost and whatever's worth it, you know. But yeah, I've seen parts get thrown across shops, people scream. I was just out of high school before I went to boot camp and everything like that. I didn't want to talk to that guy. I was scared shitless to tell him I drilled a hole the wrong size or fucked anything up. I didn't want to tell him
yeah,
because it was not going to end. It wasn't going to be a pleasant conversation. It wasn't going to be a learning experience. It was going to be, you fucking idiot, you dumb motherfucker. Now we got to fucking pay for this. Who's going to pay for it? Fuck you, blah, blah, blah. Parts getting thrown all over the place, slammed down all over the place. And it was just kind of, well, this is fun. This is a fun job to
right.
have. And obviously, nobody wants to work in those situations. And when you see others getting angry, it causes fear in people. It just leads to resentment and everything like that, where nobody's going to respect you because
Right.
you're a child.
Yeah.
You're just
No
going to
respect
get
and yeah, exactly. Yep.
you're just going to get worked up, you're going to blow up, you're going to have your temper tantrum and we're going to walk away from the situation just like we would have before you had your blow up because it doesn't resolve anything.
Right.
So it doesn't it's never helped any situation. I've never heard I've heard that those leaders, those foremen in the machine shops have been great machinists, but nobody's ever sat there talking about how great of a leader they were or how
Right.
great it was to work for them. Just they were good at their job and that's why they had that job.
Right.
And at that point, nobody else is as good as you are, so everybody else is stupid. So that's kind of how it always felt. You were never going to be a good machinist because you could never match their level. They weren't going to explain to you how to do it on their level because you were stupid. You should figure it out. It's
Yeah, and
kind of
that's
just a
no
fucked up
no
dynamic,
environment
but
anybody wants to work in.
it is what it is. That was machine shops for a while. And I know,
I can say about the same for construction sites. It's yeah,
oh, I
something gets
fucking
screwed
bet.
up. It's there was one guy, John. I remember one of the first construction sites I worked on. He got a hold of somebody, and you could hear him. There were different wings to this retirement home that we worked in, and I think he was two wings over, and you could hear him just reaming somebody's ass through closed doors and everything. Like holy shit! And yeah, it was the exact same thing, just fear. Like everybody's like, yeah, don't fuck with John. He's got a temper.
Yep.
All right, I see that. Like that's you don't want that reputation.
Well, once I joined the Marine Corps, went to boot camp and everything like that, a lot of the leaders that I had once I got to my unit were they they led from anger. That's what I saw, that's what I understood. That's some of the shit that I absorbed and took on because that was the most effective tool for certain situations was fear. Let them know they're going to get fucked up or bad things are going to happen if they don't do what they're supposed to do.
Right.
Fucked up way of looking at it, and obviously it wasn't the way to go about it, but that's that's what I learned from a lot of the leaders in the Marine Corps. Obviously, I didn't like it before the Marine Corps. I don't know why the hell it would work after, but when you see it effective, oh, that's how you use it.
Right.
You just have to use it differently. And yeah, when I started getting moved up into team leader roles and squad leader positions and shit like that, I was in charge of 3 to 12 Marines at a time, and half the time, half of them wouldn't listen to me. And finally, I asked, well, some of them were my friends, so I could just talk to them. The rest of them fucked off most of the time, so I got mad at them. I'd yell at them all the time, and I'd treat them like shit. I treated them accordingly to the behavior, but I never once analyzed how I was trying to lead
Right.
and how I was doing it wrong. So that was an eye-opening experience to me when somebody said nobody respects you. You're just yelling. You can keep yelling and everybody's going to watch you yell. You're just a fucking idiot up there now. And that was kind of the turning point of, oh yeah, that I guess that makes sense, but yeah, that there was a lot of a lot of anger and shit from everything else just built up from I was doing the reserve, so it was training on the weekends with my Marines once a month and then day-to-day family and work life bullshit. So anything that I brought from work or home, I took out on idiots in the Marine Corps. It was a fucked up way of dealing with anger, but and nobody deserved it. Shouldn't have dealt with it that way, but you didn't have an outlet for my anger without taking it out on people at home. And people at home are a little harder to take out anger on, or it affects you a little bit more long term,
Yeah.
I guess.
In my experience, I have, I guess it's almost, you could call it two different personalities. I have my work personality and my home personality. My anger at work is different than my anger at home. Could be due to comfort level of the people. Not entirely sure. I may just, well, yeah, because then that would make me more relaxed at home and less, or to where I'm paying less attention to my own emotions and just letting stuff fly. But at work, I used to, I don't know how many phones I broke because I'd throw them because I'd be so mad. I broke I don't know how many doors because I put my fist through them, or put holes in a wall because I put my fist through it.
See, I've never done that.
That's where I
I've
don't.
broken shit, but I've never thrown my phone because I never wanted to pay for a new phone. Same with
Tiff and
doors
I
and shit.
have,
But
I think we may have had one actual knockout, drag out fight. And it was bad. I don't even know if we made it to the next day. We both looked at each other and said, that never happened. We will never talk about this again. Done, over with. And we, to this day, we haven't. This is the first time it's been mentioned since then. But because yeah, I don't get super mean and angry at home. I I used to take it out physically. There was probably 4 years ago, I think was the last time I put my fist through a door. That was in the basement. I don't even remember what was going on. But as soon as I did it, the anger was gone. I knew I had to do something.
yeah, and
And I didn't
sometimes
have
that's the
any
best
I didn't
outlet.
have anything else to hit. I didn't have anything else to do. I needed something. I knew I could replace the door for less than $50, so fuck it.
Yep.
I knew there was no stud there. It was a hollow door. I'm not going to break my hand.
Not gonna go to the emergency
Worst
room
I'm going
feeling
to
like an
do is
idiot.
get a cut from the cardboard, whatever door, piece of shit door it was.
Yep.
So $50 for me to feel better. All right, it's worth it. I mean, they have those, what are they called? Oh, those rooms where you just go and break shit. You pay money
yeah.
and you just break shit.
That'd be a wild time.
I thought I was looking at actually starting one a while back because you just take people's junk and let people destroy it and then clean it up. It sounds like money making business, but yeah, I forget what they're called. But yeah, they have those rooms where you just go break shit. Like it feels good to just get that aggression. Now that's why I mentioned journaling. It was a healthy outlet for me.
Yeah, that's fair.
I can get that anger out. Because once you, like you said, with that guy at work, you don't remember apologizing to him because you feel you were justified and you felt better after doing that. No different than punching that door. I felt better after doing it. My anger was gone. No different than journaling. I get the words out, even though I'm not physically, verbally saying them. I'm writing them out, and you can write angry.
Yeah, you can.
And then once it's out, and it's done.
You can text angry too.
Do all kinds of things angry. Anyways, back to the topic at hand.
You were thinking what I was thinking.
Makeup, breakup, just angry. Oh,
I rhymed with duck.
So, yes, I have noticed that I have two different personalities, I guess.
Is that because you cater towards the emotions of the people that you live with a little bit more? Do you think? Like you actually take their emotions and their feelings into consideration?
Probably
or because
more
it's
so.
going to affect you a little bit more?
Probably more so than I do at work, yeah. And that's all.
I would imagine
like,
that's
instant. Like I don't even consider it. It just kind of happens, but I'm sure that's part of it, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, because I'm completely different with my kids handling any situation than I am anybody. I mean, granted, they're my kids, but
yeah, I still have my issues with anger at home, and Tiff calls me out. We just had a discussion again last week, and she brought it up that you're starting to drift back to where you're being mean again. So I have to reel it back in, and it's not that I don't yell. Don't get angry per se, but I can just be short and my answers are, I guess, can be interpreted as condescending or however you want to say it. I can't exactly think of the right word, but
it's not your typical behavior.
Yeah. Just short and almost annoyed, I guess, is what she says. You seem annoyed, so she takes that as anger and frustration.
You're irritated. Right. Yeah.
Right. So I need to make sure I control that, and I know I do it. Get frustrated with certain things. It was actually funny tonight as I was getting ready to leave. She had her headphones in, vacuuming. I started cooking dinner. Well, she works from home. I have my job. We text a little bit here and there, but for the most part, we don't talk all day. 9 times out of 10, 9.9 times out of 10, I'm the one sitting, watching TV, reading, writing, doing something, and Tiff is talking to me. And so I have to stop what I'm doing. And if you listen to episode 6, we talk about a disagreement we had in there that could have been solved by communication. This was that fight. Is I would pause the TV or whatever so I could pay attention to her. And she thought I was being mean and getting frustrated with her when I would pause the TV because I'd pause it and look at her, listen, and then go back to watching it. She misinterpreted what I was doing. But so tonight, as I was getting ready to leave, I kept talking to her while she had headphones in. And then I'd walk out in the living room where she's vacuuming, and I'd stand there and I'd tap on her and wait for her to take her headphones out. The third time, what the fuck? What's wrong? What's wrong? You're just annoying. I said, yeah, exactly. And finally she stopped for a second and then she started laughing. She goes, all right. Just funny how that.
Get it all on one. Just stop pausing this shit.
I said, I'm sorry. I just wanted to talk to my wife that I haven't talked to all day. Or talked to all day. Goodness, can't talk anymore.
Do you think having somebody at home to call you out for that behavior has helped you?
When she calls me out, yes. She has an issue with not calling me out because she doesn't want to upset me. You know my wife.
Yeah.
She's very unselfish. As long as everybody else is happy, she is happy. In her mind, which I'm working on.
But yeah, she cares about everybody else.
Yes.
And she will always make sure everybody else is taken care of.
So she has a hard time calling me out because she doesn't want to upset me. Even though I beg for her to call me out.
Right.
I just mentioned she did it the other day. Finally, she is starting to get a little bit better about it. Realizing that it's not the end of the world. Yes, I might be pissed for a minute, but I'm going to get over it once I take a step back and look at it and realize that, yep, she's right. And even if I don't agree with it, guess what? That's still her opinion. She's entitled to her opinion. And if that's what she's interpreting that I'm doing, I need to work on a way to fix it.
Absolutely.
So yes, it does help when she does it. How do you handle angry children? Either angry with you or angry with each other.
My kids get along so fucking well, dude. It's hard. I actually have to I gotta dig for an example. Because it's very rare that they get angry.
You might not.
Here.
I don't necessarily need an example, but
Right,
do you have how do you how do you handle situations where they've gotten angry with each other? They fight over a toy.
I mean, same way that I mean, we discussed this last week, or the episode we just released with conflict resolution. I just simply explain the situation and ask them how they would feel if the exact same situation was being used against them. Ask Arya, hey, if Colt took your toy, or Colt had a toy and you wanted him to share that toy with you, and he told you no, how would you feel?
Yeah, so at that point, it's just a conflict between two people.
I'd be upset. Okay, so you're doing that to him right now, and he's upset about it. So it's okay if you don't want to share. You don't have to. But he's upset about it, so you're telling me that he's mad. You would be mad too. So, yep, you guys can both be mad, and that's okay for both of you to be upset about this situation. But if you look at it from the other's point of view, the other person's perspective, you would feel the same way. Oh. Okay, yeah, I guess you can share it then. Usually handled immediately. That's the extent of the anger that I see with them. Now, their moms told me that they get angry at each other or angry with other things, and there's other outbursts at her house. I don't know how she handles them, but I don't see it much, man. But most of the time, it's analyze the situation. What's going on? What started it? Why are you acting this way? And then talking it out with them. And usually they realize, oh, that was stupid. Or that, yeah, I didn't need to do that. Or, oh, yeah, I would be upset if they were doing that too. So it's handled. One's doing something to bug the other, like, you wouldn't like it either. Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay, problem solved. But yeah, it's just become aware of the situation and why it's happening and talk it out. Once people hear the situation, or if you analyze every situation that you got upset about and you look at the things that triggered that anger and you actually said what got you angry out loud, you would think you are the most ridiculous, childish person all the time.
Yeah.
Guaranteed. Look at what actually upset you.
That would be a good exercise.
And why you got upset, and you're going to feel like an idiot. Say it out loud. I'm upset because of this. I'm mad right now because somebody pulled out in front of me and went slow. Really? I'm just going to let that ruin my fucking day now?
Right.
Are you kidding me?
Right.
Because of one person doing something that I probably would have had to do too? Because it's a shitty intersection?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that person must be really having a bad day.
Yeah.
Quick remind yourself of that.
Analyze the situation. Actually say what caused that reaction.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing with kids is don't continue to escalate it. And Tiff and I struggled with that for a long time.
Don't feed into it either. You cannot allow their emotions and their temper tantrums to get them what they want.
Right. Yes.
Now, if their reaction is justified, which most of the time a temper tantrum never is, there's no reason for an outburst of anger or any emotion like that.
Right.
No crying. There's no reason for any sort of
the more
outburst.
you foster that behavior,
the more
it's
you're
going to
feeding
manifest.
into it
Right.
to say, hey, this actually works.
Right.
And I've talked to my kids about that several times because I've had that conversation of, your mom said you guys don't get along at your guys' house, at her house, or you guys fight at your mom's house. Why do you guys do that? Or you get angry all the time, or you have a temper tantrum. Aria had a tantrum during school. I think the last week of school, their mom would pick them up from school. They'd stop at a gas station, get slushes and snacks or whatever, and then go back to her house and wait for me to pick them up. Last couple weeks, for whatever reason, there was a timing issue or whatever, and she told her no. She got used to, this is what we always get, so she'd throw a fit. So why'd you throw a fit? Well, because I really wanted it. How many times does throwing a fit get you what you want? Well, sometimes it works out for me. How often does it work at Dad's house? We don't do that at Dad's house. Why? Because it's not going to do anything. We're just going to get in trouble. You're not going to get in trouble, but you will not get what you want.
Right.
Talk to me. Tell me what you need. If there's a valid reason why we can't do it, I'm going to tell you the reason. If I don't have a reason, ask me what the reason is. If I can't argue it, I'll probably do it. But if I said, you got to look at it, maybe your mom didn't have time to stop at the gas station. Maybe money's tight in a week and she doesn't want to spend the extra money. But look at it from that perspective other than, well, we need that because we've always gotten it. Because you shouldn't always get everything that you want. And that's not how life's going to work out. You're going to get some stuff sometimes, and other times it's not going to happen.
Right.
You can't just get upset and let it ruin your day because one thing didn't happen because you planned it out in your head.
The internal personal
back
schedule.
to that exact same thing. And she does it too. My kids do it. They're 7 and 8, and they schedule out what they're planning, what they want to do. And when something inconveniences them or it doesn't go exactly how they planned it, it ruins everything. And I just have to break that down to them and explain it. But yeah, a lot of the outbursts with kids are, not going to lie, it's the parents' fault. If kids are having an outburst of anger out of emotion or whatever, it's probably a need not being met, or they're acting out of, this behavior has worked for me in the past, so I develop a pattern of, this is how I'm going to get attention.
Right.
This is how I'm going to get what I want. Kids are fucking manipulative, man. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you say. Kids are the most manipulative little bastards on this planet.
It's truth.
They have no context or no way of understanding. They just know what works and what doesn't work. So they will play people as much as they can. Arya smiles at me and twists her little dimples and says, "Daddy, please," and then gets whatever the fuck she wants. Not really, but that's how it is. Kids know how to use that, how to twist that.
Careful, Arya. You can't use that just because you heard him say
Yeah, nice try.
that. Yeah, you got to remember not to continue to escalate it too. Like I was saying, Tiff and I did that a lot. Still do once in a while, and have to constantly remind ourselves that, hey, pull it back, stop. And that's nice to have your partner who can be there to catch you if you're not in a single parent home. Yeah, hopefully your partner can help. If you start getting out of line, or if they start getting out of line, you can catch each other and rein it back in. But if you keep yelling with your kid, the kid's going to keep yelling back, and it's just going to get worse and worse and worse. Nobody's going to get anywhere. Kid's going to end up in trouble.
And they're gonna, I mean, that behavior is learned from you. So your kids are gonna see how you handle the situation with your spouse, with them. That's how they're going to handle situations as they grow up, as they go through school, as they get older and get into the workforce. That's
And they'll be
the
sitting here
baseline
at
that you set.
36 years old, having
Figuring shit out.
conversations, trying to figure out how to handle it all.
Trying to
The fuck
figure this
took me
shit
so
out.
long.
And like you said, in a marriage, you have that sounding board or somebody to keep you in check and say, "Hey, you're going overboard." In a single parent home, you got to fucking do that yourself,
Right.
or your kids are going to do it for you. And
Right.
you either have to listen to your kids when they say, "Hey, I don't like the way that you reacted or how you handled this situation. You made me feel X." You have to be willing to listen to them and analyze that for what it is and their emotions, or you have to keep yourself in check. And fuck, if I didn't go into, we were talking before this, and like I said, it might get a little too much, but when I was going through my divorce and we sat down with the mediator, the lawyer to mediate our divorce, one of the concerns that my ex had was she didn't trust me with my kids because of my angry outbursts, because of my past, and that fucked me up for a while because I didn't want to hear that I was a bad dad. I didn't want to hear that somebody didn't trust me.
Hard thing to hear. Not
With
only
my
a
own-
blow to your ego, but it's a hard thing
And to hear that from the mother of your kids
Right.
while you're fighting to get custody of your kids, and that's all you just made the point that that's all you give a fuck about is getting custody of your kids, and to hear that. And for a while I was bitter about it. And it just pissed me off that she said that, and how dare she say that about me, because that's not who I am. And then it took time for me to analyze that and say, well, she said that for a reason.
Right.
And maybe she's fucking right. And once I took that step back and said, maybe I am fucking up, maybe I am an angry person, maybe she's been right this whole fucking time, that's when I took a step back and was able to figure out why the hell things were going on. And that helped me keep me in check, because I never want that will never be said to me again.
Right.
Yeah, I will never hear that somebody doesn't trust me with my kids.
Yeah.
Never. That's, yeah. Coming to realize that's when I realized that I needed to change that shit. When my outbursts had gotten to that point where I thought I was going to lose my kids.
And now you need to look back and be proud of that moment.
Oh, fuck yeah. I mean,
was
not
the
proud
turning-
of the moment. Everything that led up to it, it was a bunch of mistakes. But
you can be proud
the-
of that moment,
the
because it was
growth
in
that
that
came from
moment
it.
that you became a better man, a better dad, a better human being, a better member of society in general.
sometimes you have to hear the shit you don't want
Right.
to hear.
So
you have to hear the shit that you don't
while
want to
that
admit about
moment
yourself.
may not be one of your proudest.
Still a
It
defining
is
moment in what changed
exactly
the course of my life.
Exactly. And to be able to do what you've done because of that is not to be taken lightly. That's what I mean by that moment is something to be proud of, because yes,
Absolutely,
that
yeah.
was a turning point
Yeah,
for you,
absolutely.
to where you fucking
What,
rocket ship up to the next
which
level.
is why I can just go back to that and say that's that point.
Right.
That's when that switch flipped and like, okay, there is a fucking problem.
Right.
If this is what I'm actually being compared to and somebody's willing to say this to somebody else in front of me, I have a fucking problem. So, yeah, that was the best. The thing that I should have taken more advantage of when I was married was actually taking her constructive criticism and her feedback on my emotions and how I handled situations. And I didn't do that.
Like I mentioned earlier, even if I don't agree with Tiff's perspective or point of view,
It's still
sometimes I have to say, yeah, that's how she feels though, so I obviously have to fix something. It's like I mentioned with the whole people thinking I was being condescending. I didn't think I was doing that in any way, shape, or form, but everybody else told me I was, so I have to figure out how to fix it.
exactly.
So, yeah, just because you don't agree doesn't mean that's not truly how somebody feels. So, yeah,
Which is why the biggest thing is you have to become aware of it.
yes.
If you do not recognize that you have a problem with it,
And watch for patterns too, because it's not like, I'm sure you didn't hear some of this stuff only one time.
No. No.
So,
No, but every time I did hear it, it was bullshit. I would never would. Anybody that knows me knows I would never hurt my kids. That's I would not lay a hand on my kids. I would never hurt a single ounce of flesh on their skin. But when somebody calls you out for that, you just get it immediately and go right to the defensive mode of, no, that I would never do that. You don't even know me, blah, blah, blah. And you get nowhere with it because you just get defensive instead of saying, give me examples of where I made you feel that way, so I know that I actually did something to make you feel that way, to show that it's justified.
Yeah.
Because anybody can say you're just an angry person because of the way you look.
Right.
But nobody's ever had a conversation with you. You could be the nicest guy in the world. But yeah, so if nobody can give you an example other than you just look angry, that's kind of a shitty example. Some people are, you just kind of got to some people have a resting bitch face.
I was just going to say, you may just have a shitty looking face.
Yeah.
And if people are telling you that, take it and maybe try to smile a little more. If you frown enough, your face gets stuck in a fucking frown. So try smiling. Maybe you'll change that. Maybe people will stop telling you look like an angry fuck all the time.
Yeah. But yeah, take other people's criticism. If somebody gives you feedback on your behavior or what they see in you,
again, put the ego aside. You have to do it. The sooner you do it, the better off you're going to be.
Yeah, you can't lead with an ego. Anywhere. You can't lead a family with an ego. You need an ego to keep driving you, but you can't let your ego get in the way.
Correct.
Of anything, and of growth, of making decisions.
Control your ego. People. Don't let it control you.
Yeah. That pretty much covers anger.
Yeah, I think I'm all out of questions and other triggers for us to talk about.
I'm feeling awfully triggered right now. Yeah, I think it's been a good conversation.
Another good one. I think we've had quite a few good ones recently. Starting to get a little more open and vulnerable with you guys too. So I
hope
you enjoy.
Those listening are enjoying the conversation as much as I am at least. I've enjoyed, bouncing ideas off of each other and
Just the banter
storytelling
back
of,
and forth, yeah, and learning, growing,
it's
yeah,
interesting how
hearing the
many
stories.
similar, how we handle some situations very, very
I
similar.
would imagine a lot of people do. Tell us about them.
I'd be curious who handles them the same way, or if a lot of how
How
we
do you
handle our
handle your
situation is
anger?
because of just how we
Yeah, how do
were
you
brought
guys
up.
manage your anger? What are some techniques or tips you have for us? I can use all of them I can get. Send them our way.
Or how to help be more aware of your anger, or manage it, calm yourself down. Some goose from
Anything. We would love to hear it.
yeah,
Yeah.
anger's a
Woo,
big one. I think
woo, sa. Woo, sa.
on that we'll see you guys next week.
Woo, sa.